Gold Squad TV. All right, I actually did a video recently. It was like about 10 minutes ago, and I just got a whole new idea, so I scrapped it. So here it goes, man. Celtics fans don't really want to have to hear this, but we're going to have to take a step back based on what you think we have on our roster after this season's over. So a lot of you guys who are attached to certain players, be prepared to be disappointed. Danny Ainge cannot come back with the same team next year. Danny Ainge even kind of acknowledged it in an interview with WEEI that there are going to be major changes to this roster after this season. And I think what's happening right now is I really want to like troubleshoot some shit because I'm done with blaming the blame. The blame pie, we all know how I feel about Brad Stevens. We all know how I feel about Danny Ainge. So that to me, that's irrelevant. I want to get to a solution. So here's my solution. Y'all need to hear me out. Marcus Smart has to go. Kemba Walker has to go. All right. So those are two big names that have to leave the roster. Now, you guys are going to probably sit there and say, what value would you get back for them? I wouldn't do that if I'm not going to get a proper value. But here's the point. You overpaid Kemba. And as much as I hate to say that, you kind of overpaid. You paid him the 141 based on what he did in Charlotte. It hasn't panned out. Injuries have happened. He's looked better of late, but his style of basketball doesn't really quite fit what Brad wants to do. If you're going to keep Brad Stevens, you're not going to fire Brad, then you're probably going to have to move his contract. And the reason why I say you're going to have to move his contract is because he has an opt-out year coming up. His opt-out year is at the end of next season. You know what's happened the last few times we had opt-outs? They've opted out. Hayward opted out, left. Horford opted out, left. Danny cannot afford to have more dead money on the cap when he got Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown under contract. So guess what? As much as I might not like the fact that Kemba's going to probably be gone, he's going to probably be gone this offseason. Now, Marcus Smart, his time has come. So here's my opinion about Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart is where Avery Bradley was in 2017 when we had Avery Bradley. Mind you, we had Avery Bradley for 9 years. We've had Marcus for about 8 now. Avery Bradley, before Marcus Smart, was our defensive stopper. He was the guy you could put on anyone, and he would get steals, and he could pretty much hold anybody up to maybe 15, 20 points, less to what their scoring average would be. He was never really going to get it with blocks, but he was going to do it with other things. Once Jaylen came along, it made what Avery Bradley did obsolete. You already had Marcus there. Marcus could do what Avery does. Marcus could do what Avery does. Jaylen could do what Avery does 10 times better. So it made Avery Bradley expendable. He let him go in free agency, or they traded him for Marcus Morris, if I'm not mistaken. They did, yeah. Marcus Smart will not be on this team next year. I'm calling it. Nothing personal. His time has come. And from my people sitting there saying, why would you trade Marcus? He's the heart and soul of the team. I hate to break it to you. It don't matter about who's heart and soul of the team. You were the heart and soul of last year's team and some of those other teams. This year, he's not been the heart and soul. He's been a self-destruct button this year. He's gone back to his self-destructive days. And you really kind of tell he doesn't want to be here anymore. You could tell. You could tell he doesn't really put the same fight that he once did. Defense is kind of mediocre this year. Yeah, injuries happen, but he's had a lot of injuries over the last 5 years, 4 or 5 years. Um, the broken hand, um, the, the hip injuries, the leg issue this year. At some point, you already know it's gonna be time to go. And this is the year this is time. It's time for Marcus Smart to go. And you guys need to be okay with Marcus Smart going because you could get value for Marcus Smart. We need to overhaul this roster. You're not going to get rid of Nesmith because of what Nesmith could bring to you overall potentially is something in the small dose that I've seen is potentially better than anything Marcus Smart as well. You might think I'm crazy right now, but give it about 2-3 years. Aaron Nesmith as a shooter, as a defender, as an all-around player is going to make you forget about Marcus Smart. Unless you see Marcus come to the Garden and play us a couple of times. Probably won't be as versatile as Marcus. But that's fine. You can live with that. Peyton Pritchard, if he could work on some deficiencies in his game, the dude's a 90% free throw shooter. He could work on some deficiencies in his game. He could either become a starter or really be a sixth man on his team. All right. So you're not letting him go. Jabari Parker's too talented offensively. He's a decent team defender. He's not a great one-on-one defender, but he's a decent team defender. You're not letting him go, especially on that cheap deal. You're not letting him go. Evan Fournier is a guy that really provides a lot of scoring off the bench and kind of takes a lot of pressure off of Jalen and JT. Guys don't seem to be too high on him, but you know, in all fairness to him, in the time that he has played, he's played well. Outside of maybe 1 or 2 games that he's played well and he's been feisty. And you know, some of you guys don't want to pay him. They say we should just leave him. If he doesn't want, he's going to demand too much money, then you got to let him go. I disagree. You don't let go shooting. I think Danny Ainge knows you can't let him go. So, Smart, Walker, Grant Williams, Carson Edwards, Trey Waters, Semi Ojeleye got to go. Those guys have to go. So, you're going to have to find trades for the valuable players like Kemba and Marcus in order to ship some of the extra load of bullshit that you have for cheap prices when it comes to certain players that don't fit. Like, for instance, Grant Williams might suck here, but you might go to Detroit and they might play him in the post, which is really more his game. He might play well. Dwayne Casey's not a really analytic guy. Said, just example, you send him to Detroit, he'll never be an all-star or anything, but he might be a decent player for them. Let him be a decent player for them. Doesn't fit here. All right. Trey Waters needs more G League work. I think he's going to be a career G League guy. I don't think it's worth keeping him. Carson Edwards don't need to be in the league. Semi Ojeleye has done nothing to improve his game outside of shooting a jumper. Dude just chills in the weight room and does nothing else but shoot jumpers. That's all he does. He's not good at making them. He has to go. So you have about 5 or 6 roster spots you're going to have to improve the team on. This team needs an overhaul. We don't need a small fix. We need a big fix. We need an overall. We need versatility. We need a consistent shooting big man. Dispel Timelord because Timelord's not a shooter. And Timelord can't be a starting center because of his injuries. He could be a backup or a backup to the backup. He's just too valuable based on the small shit he does. Yeah, he's fragile, and I've said that, you don't want to keep a guy that's fragile, but I've kind of come around to it, like, you know what, just keep him for now. He's no longer of use. Just get rid of him. And Taco Fall, just to be honest, is always going to be a Celtics. He's just going to be just getting those. He'll just continue to get these little bullshit checks to sit on the bench and just be a show attraction. So the rest of the roster needs work. It needs superior work to build around Jalen and Jason. You can't have a scoring point guard the way we have. You need a guy that's going to be willing to get buckets when he wants to, but not what he wants to, but what he needs to. So you need a guy who's more like a Steve Nash, and I'm not comparing anyone on the roster to Steve Nash, or like a Drew Holiday. A Drew Holiday, he gives you 17, 16, but he gives you assists, he gives you defense, and he gives you a consistent free throw shooter. All right? I'm not saying we're going to get Drew Holiday. We're probably telling them we're not getting him. But you see what he's doing in Milwaukee. You see what type of player he is. He's something like that. You know, we don't need you to score 30 points. If we need you to score 30 points, only because Jalen and Jason ain't playing well. We need a third piece who could defend. We need a third piece who could score and distribute, but not be a guy that needs to have points. You know, someone's gonna have to sacrifice. Kemba, unfortunately, as much as I love Kemba, even when Kemba does score less points, his game is not really meant to be a sacrificing type of game. Which is why he has to go. All right, so this team, no small fix is gonna have. I didn't even mention Tristan Thompson. Tristan Thompson is a space eater, kind of an old school type of player. Rebounds good, but are you going to pay him a large amount of money to stay? No. No team's going to give Tristan Thompson the type of money he got in Cleveland. And so we need veteran help on that bench to go along with some of the young players. We need to draft a little bit better. You don't need to be relying on Romeo Langford to get better. He's another one that has to go. And we need a guy like Aaron Baines at center. We need a guy that can hit a three every now and then, but he's big, built like a brick wall. You know what I mean? We need guys that can block shots like Timelord and Daniel Tice used to do for us for a little bit. You know, I think Tice had too much responsibility this year. Why he sucked to play for us. You know what I mean? But we just have too many needs. We're not going to the finals next year. And we should go into that mindset. Let's just have a nice 51, 52 game winning season, be a third or fourth seed, contend, and then build a team as you're to slowly build a team around young and veteran leadership, and eventually we'll be there. You know what I mean? But we're gonna have to be patient because it's been some bad moves. Like the Horford contract was bad, the Kemba contract's been bad, the Gordon Hayward contract was bad. I think what we need to do is not chase after the big contract. I think we need to be smart. We need to be very, very smart. You know, Bradley Beal's a free agent in about a year and a half. You know him and Jason have always wanted to play together. And Jaylen Brown's still going to be there. You don't have to trade Jalen. So if we can clear out the cap, kind of bring in a bunch of players, sacrifice the season. Just be a good, decent playoff team, and then go into the free agency year with Bradley's available. Bradley wants to play with Jason and Jalen. Now you got three pieces that are legit pieces that play well off each other. That's the things you guys got to realize, that Garnett, Pierce, and Allen, when they were together, they played well off each other. Those pieces fit. You got a scorer in Pierce, you got a shooter in Ray Allen, and you got a defender and you got a two-way player in Kevin Garnett. That's what we kind of need. We need balance. So in the meantime, we don't need to win no titles anytime soon. Just chill. Let's be a 50-win team next year. Let's get some nice pieces, build with that, clear cap space, get rid of some of those bad contracts, and essentially look to contend a year and a half from now. You know, once we get Beal in free agency, maybe if he wants to be here, then now we're a contender again. Now you got three guys that could average 20 points a game, and they balance each other very, very well. You know, now Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown's primes aren't being wasted. But you're gonna have to trust Danny. Once you guys don't like Danny Ainge, and believe me, I'm not a Danny fan. We're gonna have to let guys like Smart go. We're gonna have to let fan favorites like Kemba Walker go. You're gonna have to do these things. These are hard decisions you're gonna have to make. We're not. If we come back with the same roster next year, we're gonna win 29 games. Even with Jalen and Jason cooking, they're gonna get the majority of the blame for what the rest of the team lacks. This team was very unenjoyable to watch. Poor Tatum and Brown got blamed for a lot of this shit because they're the best players, and they're going to take a lot of that blame. But ultimately, at the end of the day, Tatum had a lot of bad contracts, a lot of bad decisions made. The good thing is that the last draft class is good with Pritchard and Nesmith. You don't let those guys go. Build around the foundational pieces. You pay a couple guys 1 or 2 year contracts, kind of balance the team out based on needs, and then wait till one of these guys like Bradley Beal's out market. Like I said, Jason Tatum has a great relationship, man. And when he's a free agent in about a year and a half, it's gonna be you could have Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and John Wall. You don't gotta let go JB. You know what I mean? So now you got a two-way player, and a guy that can shoot. Now you have more balance on the team. But we can't swing for the fences right now. We're gonna have to do what we did in 15 and 16, which is get small pieces, get Jay Crowders, get those type of players. We're gonna have to go after those type of guys. There is no quick fix to this, and for you guys sitting there saying that you're not going to trade Smart because you're for just anyone, you guys are bugging. You have to trade these guys. You're gonna have to trust the process. You know. Remember, Danny Ainge traded Marcus Thornton for Isaiah Thomas, and look how that turned out. IT ended up being one of the best players in the league for 2 years. You're just gonna have to trust the process, man. We're in no shape to try to get superstars right now. We need to just build a veteran / young team and mix it together and have the right mesh. Coaching will take care of itself. If Danny wants to fire Brad, fine. If not, it's whatever. There's nothing you can do about the shit. But guys are gonna just have to accept it. Go Squad TV. Leave your comments down below.